I can definitely write this in the candid, relationship advice style you're looking for, but I want to be clear, I won't call the wife derogatory names. I can portray her as manipulative, dismissive, defensive, and dishonest while still staying respectful to real people who might relate to the situation. Hey Reddit, long-time lurker, first-time poster. I never thought I'd be that guy pouring his heart out online, but here we are. I'm Marcus, 32M, and I've been married to my wife Elena, 30F, for almost 9 years. We were the couple everyone rooted for. High school sweethearts, starry-eyed dreamers, all of that cute stuff you see in rom-com flashbacks. But dreams get expensive. I threw myself into work, convinced that if I climbed high enough, we'd finally afford the life we used to talk about. Traveling Italy. Learning photography together. Starting a family when we were ready. I thought I was doing the right thing, grinding through long hours so she wouldn't have to worry. Except, somewhere along the way, I think she started to feel like a ghost in her own life. Our conversations became surface level. I'd come home exhausted, and she'd already be asleep, or pretending to be. She'd roll her eyes when I talked about work, like I was bragging instead of trying. She'd joke about how I cared more about my laptop than my marriage, but lately, the jokes didn't sound like jokes. I noticed little things, more makeup on random weekdays, staying late at work too often, a new laugh I didn't recognize. And the way she looked at me sometimes, cold, like I was just someone who happened to share a kitchen with her. I told myself I was overthinking. That we were just in a rut. I had no idea that rut was actually a sinkhole. So a couple months ago, Elena suddenly started loving work. Like, she went from dragging herself out the door every morning to practically sprinting there. New outfits. New perfume. A lot more smiling at her phone. At first, I was glad. I thought, hey, maybe she's finding her spark again. I even asked her if she wanted me to help her get back into painting, or take a trip somewhere for a weekend. She brushed it off with a tight smile and said, let's not pretend we can afford fantasies right now. That one stung, a lot. Then came the night she didn't come home. She texted around 8 p.m. saying she was working late on a project and not to wait up, her phone might die. I told myself to trust her. But midnight rolled around, and my brain was having none of that trust talk anymore. She finally slipped into the bedroom around 2 a.m. I woke up when she climbed into bed, and she smelled like rain and a cologne I've never owned. When I asked where she'd been, she sighed like I was the problem and said, Marcus, seriously? I told you. Work stuff. You're paranoid. Paranoid. Right. She turned her back on me and was asleep within minutes. Meanwhile, I stayed up staring at the ceiling, feeling my stomach twist into knots. That was the night I started paying attention. About a week after the 2 a.m. work stuff incident, I was doing something totally innocent, grabbing her laptop charger from her bag because mine died. That's it. No snooping. No suspicions in that moment. But her phone was in the bag too. And it lit up. A message preview popped up that made my heart stop. Last night was perfect. Can't wait to see you again, face blowing a kiss, Adrian. Adrian. I knew the name. A guy from her office she had mentioned maybe once, in that casual, too careful way. Before I could even blink, more messages buzzed through. I still think about that kiss. Wish you were in my arms again. Did he suspect anything? That one hit like a truck. I just stood there, holding her phone, feeling like the ground was tilting. My chest was tight. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped the damn thing. When she walked into the room, I must have looked like someone had punched me in the face. She immediately snatched the phone and said, way too quickly. Marcus, it's not what you think. Except, it was exactly what I thought. I tried to speak but the words came out broken. My mouth went dry. My brain refused to connect all the pieces fast enough to make sense of the pain flooding in. She kept talking, fast, frantic, something about misunderstandings and a joke taken too far. A joke. Right. Because everyone jokes about secret kisses and arms and whether your husband suspects anything. That moment, that was when reality cracked. And it hasn't fit back together since. Say the word and I'll continue with part 4, the first big lie. Make the following stories bigger. ChatGPT. Got it, you want the future installments to be longer, more detailed, more emotional, with more sudden twists and fuller storytelling. I can absolutely do that. Before I send the next part, I just want one quick clarification so I give you exactly what you're looking for. After the phone incident, Elena switched into self-preservation mode. Not marriage preservation. Her own. For the first couple of days, she acted overly sweet. Asterisk cooking dinner, which she never did anymore. Asterisk calling me, babe, like she was auditioning for the role. Asterisk constantly asking if I needed anything. It made my skin crawl. Affection shouldn't feel like manipulation, but it did. And here's the thing, liars forget their lies. Elena did, fast. One night I calmly asked her again, did anything physical happen with Adrian besides that kiss? Her story changed instantly. Asterisk first version, it was one stupid kiss. Asterisk second version, okay, we kissed a few times. Asterisk third version, fine, we slept together once, but I felt horrible. Once. My chest tightened. Rage and heartbreak tangled together until I couldn't breathe. Then she dropped the worst line yet. Honestly, Marcus, if you were around more, I wouldn't have needed him. Needed. As if cheating was a medical requirement. As if betrayal was a prescription. Her eyes were cold, like she was daring me to argue. And that's when another message popped onto her phone, right there in front of me, almost like the universe was done giving her chances to tell the truth. Can't wait for our weekend. You're mine. Red heart. Weekend. Not once. Not a kiss. Not a mistake. A plan. When I asked her what the hell that meant, she exploded. You're spying on me. You're suffocating. You're the reason I'm unhappy. Every accusation was a bullet. At one point, she even smirked. Like she was winning. Then, the final blow. I deserve to feel alive. Adrian gives me what you can't. I stared at her, the woman who once vowed to protect my heart, now twisting the knife deeper with every word. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just broke. Quietly. Inside. It felt like someone had opened my chest and scooped out everything I'd ever believed about love. She looked at me, really looked, and still didn't stop. Don't make this dramatic. It's not the end of the world. But to me, it was. I walked out onto the porch, collapsing onto the steps because my legs couldn't carry the weight of reality anymore. My marriage, our life, the dreams I worked myself nearly sick for. They were all already dead. I was just the last to know. A few days after our brutal argument, the tension in the house was thick enough to choke on. We barely spoke, just avoided eye contact like two strangers trapped in the same burning building, both waiting to see who would flee first. Then it all blew up. I woke up early on a Thursday, earlier than usual. I heard Elena downstairs, laughing. A soft, flirty laugh I hadn't heard directed at me in months. My heart sank before I even reached the bottom of the stairs. She wasn't alone. She was on a video call, with him. With Adrian. He was sitting there on screen, smug smile, calling her beautiful, joking about how she should call in sick and come over. They talked like teenagers hiding secrets, except the secret was my life falling apart in real time. I froze in the doorway. Elena saw me. Her whole face fell, not from guilt, but from annoyance at getting caught again. "What is wrong with you?" she snapped, as if I had barged into her home. "What's wrong with me?" My voice cracked. "That's the question you're going with?" Adrian's voice chimed in from the laptop speaker. "Maybe give her some space, man." Man. He didn't know me. Didn't know the promises I made. Didn't know how many nights I spent working so she didn't have to worry about anything. Yet he inserted himself like he belonged. I walked over and closed the laptop gently, because if I slammed it, it might look like I cared too strongly. Might look like I still believed this conversation was about saving us. Elena lost it. "You're unbelievable. Adrian understands me. He actually listens." She said it with such conviction that for a moment I wondered when exactly I stopped mattering. Then came the twist. She grabbed her purse and headed toward the door. "Where are you going?" I asked. "To him," she said. "You can't stop me." Adrian had become more than an affair, he was her escape plan. And she was choosing the exit. I didn't shout. I didn't beg. I simply said, "If you walk out that door, you're walking away from this marriage." She hesitated. Just for a second. Then she did it. She walked out. The silence afterward was deafening, a sound like the last heartbeat of something I once believed was unbreakable. I sat alone, staring at the door, waiting for it to open again. But it didn't. After Elena walked out that door, I just sat there. Completely frozen. Hours passed. The sun moved across the kitchen floor. The clock kept ticking, as if it didn't care my world had just imploded. Around 6 p.m., there was a knock on the door. I expected Elena back with some half-baked apology or another manipulation tactic. It wasn't her. It was Laura, one of Elena's co-workers. We weren't close, but she had always been kind when we ran into each other. She looked conflicted. Like she rehearsed something in her head the whole drive over. "Hey, Marcus," she said softly. "Can we talk?" I stepped aside and she came in, wringing her hands. "I'm so sorry to show up like this, but you deserve to know what's really going on." She sat me down and told me everything. And I mean everything. Elena and Adrian had been involved for over 6 months. They didn't just kiss, they were meeting regularly. Elena lied to her co-workers, telling them we were, basically separated. Adrian wasn't single, he had a girlfriend of 5 years. They used office events and late projects as cover-ups. Elena bragged behind my back about my long hours making things easier for her affair. Every sentence was another dagger. But then, the worst blow. Laura looked me dead in the eye and said, "She's planning to move in with him, Marcus. She said she's done with the marriage." It was like the floor disappeared under me. All that time I was breaking my back trying to build our future, Elena was already constructing a life where I didn't exist. I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. Laura placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. "You deserve better than the way she's treated you," she whispered. I nodded, because anything more than that and I would have collapsed. After she left, I realized something. For months, Elena made me feel like I was failing. Like I wasn't good enough. Like I had somehow pushed her into someone else's arms. But the truth? She left long before I even knew she was walking away. And the heartbreaking part? I was still trying to fix things, while she was already trying to replace me. That night, I cried harder than I ever have in my life. Not angry tears, just pure grief. For the love I thought we had. For the version of her I once believed was real. For the future I'd been chasing alone. Somewhere between sobbing and exhaustion, something clicked. I realized I wasn't the one who should feel ashamed. She was. I woke up the next morning with swollen eyes and a pounding headache from crying. But under all that pain, there was a strange new feeling. Resolve. I realized something huge. I had spent months fighting a battle I didn't even know I was losing, against an enemy I trusted with my entire future. But there are only so many times you can be stabbed in the same wound before you decide you're done bleeding. I grabbed a trash bag and started packing. Not her stuff, mine. My clothes. My essentials. My laptop and important documents. Some photos that still made me smile, before I could think too long about why they hurt now. It wasn't dramatic. No screaming. No broken plates. Just quiet determination. I left a note on the counter. If you want him, you can have him. But you don't get to have me, too. I booked a week-long Airbnb across town and drove off without looking back. Around noon, her messages started. Elena, where are you? We need to talk. Ignored. Elena, Yuri acting childish. Ignored. Elena, are you seriously running away? Ignored. Then, the call. She went from annoyed panicked in seconds. Marcus? What are you doing? Come home. We can fix this. Fix. Like duct tape fixes a demolished building. She began cycling through every manipulation tactic. 1. Minimization, it wasn't that serious, you're being dramatic. 2. Blame, you pushed me away. What did you expect? 3. Guilt, you're just going to abandon our marriage. 4. Fear, what am I supposed to do without you? And then the kicker. 1. Possession, you can't just leave. I'm your wife. My voice was calm. Dead calm. You stopped being my wife the second you decided someone else was worth risking everything for. She went silent. I could hear her breathing hard on the other end. Then, through gritted teeth. If you leave, don't expect me to be here when you get back. That line was meant to scare me. But instead, it felt like freedom. I won't, I said. And I hung up. For the first time in months, the weight on my chest lifted. I wasn't trying to save a sinking ship anymore. I had finally climbed into the lifeboat. I woke up the next morning with swollen eyes and a pounding headache from crying. But under all that pain, there was a strange new feeling. Resolve. I realized something huge. I had spent months fighting a battle I didn't even know I was losing, against an enemy I trusted with my entire future. But there are only so many times you can be stabbed in the same wound before you decide you're done bleeding. I grabbed a trash bag and started packing. Not her stuff, mine. My clothes. My essentials. My laptop and important documents. Some photos that still made me smile, before I could think too long about why they hurt now. It wasn't dramatic. No screaming. No broken plates. Just quiet determination. I left a note on the counter. If you want him, you can have him. But you don't get to have me, too. I booked a week-long Airbnb across town and drove off without looking back. Around noon, her messages started. Elena, where are you? We need to talk. Ignored. Elena, Yuri acting childish. Ignored. Elena, are you seriously running away? Ignored. Then, the call. She went from annoyed panicked in seconds. Marcus? What are you doing? Come home. We can fix this. Fix. Like duct tape fixes a demolished building. She began cycling through every manipulation tactic. 1. Minimization, it wasn't that serious, you're being dramatic. 2. Blame, you pushed me away. What did you expect? 3. Guilt, you're just going to abandon our marriage. 4. Fear, what am I supposed to do without you? And then the kicker. 1. Possession, you can't just leave. I'm your wife. My voice was calm. Dead calm. You stopped being my wife the second you decided someone else was worth risking everything for. She went silent. I could hear her breathing hard on the other end. Then, through gritted teeth. If you leave, don't expect me to be here when you get back. That line was meant to scare me. But instead, it felt like freedom. I won't, I said. And I hung up. For the first time in months, the weight on my chest lifted. I wasn't trying to save a sinking ship anymore. I had finally climbed into the lifeboat. It didn't take long for Elena's happily ever after with Adrian to implode. Fairy tales don't usually survive contact with the real world. 3 days after I left, I got a text from her, 8 paragraphs long. I didn't respond. But I read it. And wow, the cracks were already showing. Turns out, Adrian wasn't the man she thought he was when they were sneaking around and playing secret lovers. Problem number 1: Adrian's girlfriend, yes, the long-term one, found out. But not by accident. She read their messages while he was in the shower. Then she kicked him out and called Elena personally to let her know exactly what she thought of the situation. Elena expected Adrian to rise like a knight in shining armor, ready to embrace their future together. Instead. Problem number 2: Adrian panicked. He told Elena. Asterisk they should slow down. Asterisk they should not rush into labels. Asterisk he didn't sign up for drama. Drama equals the consequences of his actions. He started ghosting her during the day. Only messaging at night. Only looking for what she provided him in secret. When she suggested living together, the same plan she abandoned our marriage for, he literally laughed. Then things got worse. Problem number 3: their passionate connection changed. Behind the thrill of secrecy, she was exciting. She was the escape. But now, she was the reality he never wanted. Suddenly, he wasn't free of commitment, he had 2 messy situations tied to him instead of 1. So he bailed. Not gently. Not kindly. A single message. We should take a break from talking. This is too much. And just like that, the guy she gambled our entire marriage on folded his hand. Elena went all in on a fantasy and lost. I didn't find out from her, she wasn't ready to admit how badly she'd miscalculated. I found out because Laura messaged me again. Just so you know, she's not doing great. But she needs to learn from her choices. Please don't let her manipulate you into thinking this is your fault. For the first time in ages. I felt lighter. Not joyful. Not vindictive. Just free. Elena chose her escape. And it escaped her right back. Now she was standing alone in the ruins of a life I built, and she lit the match herself. On the 5th day of staying at the Airbnb, I heard a knock. I knew who it was before I even checked the peephole. Elena. She looked different. Not the confident, smug version who walked out the door to chase her fantasy. Not the flirtatious woman laughing into a webcam. She looked small. Like someone who suddenly realized the ground beneath her disappeared. Her makeup was smudged, hair messy, eyes red from crying. She wasn't there to fight anymore, she was there to beg. "Marcus," she whispered, voice cracking. "Can I come in? Please." I stepped aside, mostly out of habit. She walked in like the space itself was foreign and cold, and for the first time in a long time, she looked around like she didn't belong. She turned to me, tears already falling. "I messed up, worse than I even knew I could. I'm so sorry." Her voice was trembling. But it didn't hit me the way she wanted it to. Because something inside me was already gone. She reached for my hand, I pulled away. That shattered her. She dropped to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. "I thought he loved me," she choked out. "He promised things, and now he won't even answer my calls. I thought I still had you." There it was. The truth without the sugarcoat. She didn't come back for us. She came back because her backup plan collapsed. I knelt down to meet her eyes, not out of sympathy, but out of clarity. Elena, I said quietly, you didn't just cheat. You destroyed us, then blamed me for the rubble. She sobbed harder. I'll do anything. Counseling. Blocks on my phone. Change jobs. Whatever it takes. Just, please don't leave me. I took a long, steady breath. I'm not leaving you, Elena, I said. Her eyes lit with hope, too soon. I already left, I finished. And that was the moment she realized sorry wouldn't fix what she broke. She looked like someone who watched the last lifeboat drift away. But I wasn't cruel. I didn't yell. I didn't curse her name. I simply stood up and told her the truth. I loved you so much that I stopped loving myself. I won't make that mistake again. Her sobs became quiet, defeated whimpers. She nodded, because there was nothing left to argue. She walked out slowly. No dramatic last words. No final plea. Just a quiet, painful exit. And I didn't chase her. Not this time. It will include. Asterisk how I rebuilt. Asterisk what I now believe about love and trust. Asterisk the advice I'd give to someone standing where I once stood. Asterisk a hopeful ending, not about romance, but about self-worth.